I just opened my messages as you do in the morning, and my mum was standing right next to me. So I'm just like scrolling through my snaps, and there's nothing in particular, so I'm okay. I look over to my mum. She's in absolute shock. So I start rethinking, did I open any messages that had offended her or were in any way inappropriate? But nothing comes to mind. So at this point, I just start panicking, like, why is she reacting like that? And then she goes, is she okay? What? The girl who sent you that video. What video? She was crying and cutting her hair. Apparently, it's not normal to cut and dye your hair when you're not feeling well. Who would have thought? Oddly enough, this has been somewhat normalized for my generation. Now, you might be thinking, what is she trying to say? Well, I believe that a bad mental health has been normalized, and most people my age do not know how to deal with it. This is not something new, is it? A bad mental health is not a new theme. Why are we not talking about it? A discussion with elder people makes me extremely uncomfortable, like if you just had interrupted them on the toilet. And to be honest, this behavior does not change with the younger generation. Let me ask you a question. How are you doing today? No, seriously. How have you been doing this week? Have you really been doing well, like you have been saying? Now, the weird thing is, quite a lot of people feel uncomfortable when asked these questions. Almost like if you're not allowed to answer honestly if the answer is not well. This is an enormous problem. The simple subject of mental health has been made so taboo, we can't really think about it. But why? Why would a subject like this be taboo? A subject that impacts every single one of us. One reason is there's a certain non-said rule in society to be happy. A non-said rule that says you can't be sad or have any negative feelings, even though that's completely normal and valid. There's certain toxic positivity that tells us if I am sad, I am going to make the people around me sad. My favorite example of this is the other day when my friend was having a bad day. Her cat had died. So we were trying to comfort her. Then one of my other friend goes, just be happy. To our great surprise, she did not feel any better. With a bad mental health, you need to get help, right? So help can be talking to family, friends, or going to therapy. I guess that's another reason why mental health is so taboo. There's so many stereotypes around therapy. You know, that place insane people go to. A therapist is a bit like a doctor for your mental health, right? So why can't I go there if I have a problem? Even if it's a minor one, it might evolve. It's also important to go for checkups on a regular basis. And if you do not feel at ease with your therapist, just go to a new one till you find one you like. In general, you should look after your mental health on a regular basis by focusing on yourself and make sure you are doing well. And I have realized over time that well-being is divided into 3 major parts. The first part being the emotions, the second part being the soul, and the third one being the body. They are all connected and are crucial for well-being. We need to actively look after all 3 of them. I'm going to start with the body. Some ideas for looking after the body are sports in general, but also more relaxing aspects like yoga and stretching. The good thing about this is it's already partly in the school curriculum. Just by adding a bit more of a relaxing part, it could be completely in the school curriculum. And for anybody saying they don't like yoga, you have simply not found the right yoga teacher yet, like somebody told me a few years ago. I don't like yoga. Another thing we can do for the body is eating healthily. Simply by having, like you already have heard it thousands of times, a balanced and healthy diet, you should be good. So this is not going to extremes, which is eating too much or too little of something, or eating too much or too little in general. I remember when I just got into secondary school, you at once have all this freedom. Nobody's going to stop you from going anyway for lunch and eating anything. So I started binge eating, like I'd say most people when they get into secondary school, chocolate and anything that was off limits at home. This is the simple reason why there are no off limits or recommended foods. Because, like I just said, we tend to binge eat them when we get them. If you're feeling insecure about your body because people are telling you you're not perfect the way you are, they're not the ones to judge. The only people who can tell you if you're healthy or not is you and your doctor. Because in general, people try to aim for this ideal body that media puts forward that is, on one hand, often extremely unhealthy to obtain, but also impossible to a certain extent. The second part of our well-being is the soul. You know, that thing, God or the devil is going to come and take someday. The soul I have divided personally into 4 parts. The first part is the connections. Connections is connections to, for example, other people, but it can also be connections to, for example, a higher being, if you believe in God, or even a lake, a tree, or your favorite rock. Simply by going for a walk in the forest or being fully present when having a conversation is enough. When I mean fully present, so keeping eye contact and not being distracted by, example, your phone. I remember having this conversation a few years ago with some mums, and they mentioned that my generation does not know how to keep eye contact. So I guess we should work on that. Sadly, through the wearing of masks, the whole aspect of connection has been weakened. We started with social distancing and are now socially distancing. The second big part is communication. Communication is making your needs clear to other people. I have realized that people do not understand what you want unless you clearly tell them. For example, does my dad know I want a waffle right now and not just a basket of fruit? Probably not. I have not clearly told him. So you should really make sure to make your needs clear. The third part is knowing what your needs are, also prioritizing them. What I mean by prioritizing your needs is making sure that you're prioritizing yourself and then the people that are important to you. I often tend to, even if I have a lot of work to do, not say no to people when they ask me for something. And just respecting this point means understanding that you have to put yourself sometimes forward and not other people, and just saying no sometimes. It's okay. We should all do this. Now, to the emotions. Personally, this is a very scary one for me. I have a hard time dealing with emotions because I tend to deny them, not only to myself, but also to other people. So it's a privilege doing this, but it's really intimidating too. A good thing for emotions is writing them down. A good thing about writing emotions down, we could again include it in schools. We could encourage writing about emotions in languages in the school curriculum, which would help students not only try and force them to understand and know what emotions they have, but through knowing what emotions you have, you also get to deal with your emotions. When you write them down, you can do it in any shape or form. You could do it, I don't know, a song, a poem, an essay, or even a whole musical. If you do the musical, please invite me. I adore musicals. Another way you could also do for dealing with emotions is just naming them. Simply by naming your emotions when you are happy, sad, scared, or angry will make you feel better. Also, just be honest with yourself and to other people to make yourself feel better. For me, it's extremely important to understand why I feel a certain way. Why am I cross, for example? When I'm angry, it tends to be because somebody has crossed my boundaries. So here we're back to the soul part with connections. I try to make my boundaries clear and tell people where my boundaries are. That way, these boundaries are not crossed again, and I don't need to feel this negativity again. Now, I would say we're coming to my biggest message in the talk and something I really hope is going to happen. Something that would be amazing to have in schools is school counsellors. Right now, in my school, we have school therapists. And in theory, you can go there, but people rarely go there. Most of my friends and a lot of people in my generation, not all, are very introverted. So they are incapable of even ordering pizza, let alone a glass of water at a restaurant. On one hand, it is extremely funny to watch for me, but how do you expect these people to go to the school therapist? They are unable to do so. Even me, being an extrovert, hasn't even thought about going there because I tend to want to deal with my problems myself, and in general, I just deny them. I also let myself think my problems are just not important enough. Well, there are of course some solutions. For example, one of my friends started a cry count document. She shared it with a few of us, and basically we have access to it, and every time you cry, you write down that you cried and the reason why. I am proud to say that I'm in first place right now after having a concussion last week, but it's not really a solution. Because as teenagers, we're going through so many changes at so many different levels that we need someone to talk to. We could talk to parents, but it's just awkward having a conversation with parents, you just don't want to talk to parents about intimate things. Friends is neither a reliable source because in some friend groups, sadly, the simple theme of mental health is still taboo, but also some people don't have many friends. So having a school counsellor would be a reliable source people could always go back to ask for help, to have somebody to talk to. The good thing about a school counsellor is it's a grown-up who's specialised in it, so they know what they're talking about. On top of that, it's a good and neutral opinion and advice. The school counsellor would have to be mandatory, for example, every 2 weeks for at least 20 minutes, because like we said before with a school therapist, not many people go there because they don't dare to. We need somebody to come to us. They'd also have to mingle amongst the students, that way we feel comfortable talking to them because, again, we don't want to talk about strangers about our emotions. That'd be extremely weird. And I think the most important part that the school counsellors would bring with them is making mental health less taboo, because us teenagers, future adults, would be used to talking about emotions, the body, and the soul. For anybody who is struggling right now or going through a tough time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Just continue, you are not alone. To everybody, students, parents, teachers, anybody involved in schools, we are the ones who can make a change. By working together, we can integrate the 3 parts of well-being in the school curriculum and have school counsellors. We need to work together to be able to do this. No voice is too small. By working all together, we can make this happen. Stop mental health being taboo. Thank you.